Hello, hello. Let's get started with our new moon. No, we're getting started with our month ahead tarot Q&A. And I want to just kind of set the scene for us as we prepare. And so if you decide to do something, if you have tarot cards or you want to just start to focus on planning for the month ahead, we're planning for June right now. And so if we want to think about for yourself how you're planning out this month, if you want to sit down and do some reflection, do some journaling, however you want to connect to the energy of June and what's happening. We're going to start out with doing a little quiet, settling in. Then we'll look at some cards and kind of plot out the weeks as we move forward. Okay. So I want you to just take some nice deep breaths, and you can either close your eyes or lower your gaze and just allow yourself to kind of center into the moment, whether you're watching later or now. So just close your eyes and settle in. Notice your breath. Notice how your body feels right now. Try to allow yourself to slow down. Just relax. You can do a scan of your body, starting from the top of your head and moving down to your feet. And just notice anywhere that feels tension, that feels stress. Just allow yourself to relax it and know that you are settling into this moment right now. There's nothing else you need to worry about. Just be open to everything that's happening around you. And when you feel nice and relaxed, come back into the space. Okay, so I am going to start by, I'm going to switch my camera over for a good portion of this so you can actually see the cards and you will still hear me. I'm going to light us a candle and just get started with seeing what the cards have to offer us. These are the two decks that I'm going to use. And let me just light my candle here. If you have a candle at home, you can go ahead and light it or just allow yourself to focus on the light that's here. So we'll start out first with this oracle deck, and we'll just get a message of something to help us frame what's coming up in this month. This is the Sacred Rebels deck that I'm going to use. And if you haven't seen oracle cards before, they're different than tarot. I think of these more as like a kind of cheerleader deck is the phrase that I usually use, but you still pull. There's a book that goes along with it that I will read from. These messages are a little bit longer, but this is a good way to just kind of frame the mood. And while I'm shuffling, I want you to think about what you need to work on in June, what's coming up, what you need to prepare for, and what that looks like for you. So, shuffle one last time. We'll pick our card. And just look at it while I read the description from the book. This is what do you feel? And as you look at the card, just notice what jumps out at you. whether it's part of the image or the message that's a message that's coming through to you. And I'll read some from the book. There are many opinions around you. Some are helpful, but others are distracting you from your truth. Although it can be helpful to hear the thoughts of others, when it all comes down to it, you will have to come to your own decision. Do you know how unique you are? How your path is your path to be chosen, lived, and created only by you? Someone else cannot become the source of your decision-making power without negative repercussions for both of you in the long run. This oracle comes to you because you have become swept up in thinking things through. You've been thinking about which way to go with a matter of importance, and you have got a bit, and you have got a bit stuck in the logic of the decision-making process. Sometimes we have to accept that any path is a path forward, and if it's not the best path, we can change our approach later if needed. If we're slightly off base with a decision, life will often shift and move to guide us back on track. We don't have to be perfect. In fact, there is rarely ever a perfect choice to be made, just some choices that feel more heart-honoring than others. Sometimes we can only really know in hindsight if we made the best choice. At the time of decision making, we only really have our internal wisdom to rely upon, and that is all we need. I'll switch back. And as you think about that message and you think about what's coming up for you in June, ask yourself about that. What have you been allowing other people to give you more insight on than you've been listening to yourself? This month, we've talked a lot about connecting to intuition, and this is the perfect card to come up to get us thinking about how we need to listen to us and not all the voices around us. Okay. So I'm going to move this card over out of our way, and we will start pulling some cards. Now, as we think about the cards, again, think about I'll pull a card for each week, and we'll look at what's above it and below it, and I'll explain that a little bit more as we go along. But I just want you to, for yourself, maybe write down on a piece of paper or in your journal, what's something I really want to focus on in June? What's something that I know needs to move or change or be done that I've been maybe putting off that I really want to focus on? So write that down. And now let's think about what the universe, what spirit has for us throughout those weeks. I'll switch the camera back over and we'll start with an overall what we need to think about for June. Kind of an overarching theme or energy that we need to consider. Okay. So again, take a look at the card and notice what jumps out at you. Notice how it feels for you in your body. And think about what you wrote down. So this is the Nine of Pentacles. Pentacles are about home. It's about practical things, tangible things, things you can put your hands on, right? That you can physically touch. It's also about money. So if you are concerned with working on something in your business or at work, This nine reminds us that we have the ability to attain, to fulfill what we've been striving for. This is almost the end of a cycle. If there's something that you've really been working on, maybe for months at this point, there is a path almost completed for you if you just keep moving. And it's interesting, the thing that jumped out at me the most here is this little snail here at the bottom. And I kind of thought about that slow and steady wins the race, you know? So think about that. I'm going to just move this up here. All right. So let's move on to week one. So on Monday is June 1st. And so this is the beginning of our month. And to start off this month, we've got more Pentacle energy here. See what this card feels like for you. Move it down a little bit. How does this feel for you? What jumps out at you? Think about it in terms of planning for this month ahead. So here we have the Six of Pentacles. I mentioned what Pentacles energy is. Sixes are about problem solving, right? It's about cooperation. It's about giving back, as you can kind of see in the imagery here, but giving back from a space of knowledge about knowing what you need to do, the right ways to move forward. So in this first week of the month, think about that. Think about how we want to move forward, how we want to solve some problems that are coming up for us that have been preventing us from that goal. Think about who you can work together with, who you can support, who may in turn support you. And write something down for that first week. If someone jumps out at you, if there's a problem that you know needs to be resolved, let's focus on that the first week. Okay. Now, let's move on. Week two. Once again, look at the card. What jumps out at you? How does this card feel for you? Don't overthink it. Your first instinct is what's right. Write that down. So, in our second week, this is definitely a time to start taking some actions, to start moving forward. So, wands are actions. It's the suit of action. It's moving forward. It isn't thinking about it first and making a plan. It's about taking action. And knights are all about, again, that initial action coming in, think about like a knight saving the day, right? Coming in and taking charge, having that initial strength to be able to push forward and protect what's important for you. So think about that and what you're focusing on for June. Once you've done your problem solving and started to figure out who you can start to work with, in that second week, think about how you're going to move forward, how you're going to take some of those initial first steps, right? How are you going to be brave and show up for yourself and then maybe for others, right? Write down whatever jumps out at you. All right. Now we'll move on to week three. Yep, she wants to come. Okay. Now week three. Look at the card, what jumps out at you. Write down that initial energy, feeling, observation that you made. Don't overthink it. So here we have the Queen of Cups. So cups, the suit of cups are about our emotions, right? So it isn't necessarily about taking action. The suit itself is about how we're feeling, truly feeling, not thinking, how we're feeling about what's going on around us. And the queen is, I like to say, queens are the leaders who lead from the back. They lead from a place of community and not just, giving orders and moving things forward, which you need sometimes for sure. But queens are about building. And for me, especially in the Queen of Cups, I think about holding the space for your emotions, for other people's emotions. And think about that in terms of what you're planning for June, what you want to be moving ahead in June. Think about this in terms of the rest of the theme here of this cooperative problem solving, moving forward and taking actions. How are you able to then step back and think about how you feel about this situation? Allow yourself to hold that space and be true to yourself, be honest with yourself about how you're feeling and how you want to keep moving forward. And if there's a particular energy that came up for you when you looked at the card, think about that again in terms of what your goal is for June, what you really are focusing on for June. How can you reconnect with your emotions and hold a safe space? And maybe even hold a safe space for the people around you. Okay. Now let's look at our final week. Okay. Got another queen here. And we have a whole trifecta here of all the suits in order. So look at the card, write down what jumps out at you, how it feels for you. Think about that in terms of your focus for June. So, swords energy is our thoughts, what we're thinking, how we're communicating with people. So, if we're thinking of this progression here, we've moved now from planning and thinking about how to problem solve, either in our business or in our homes, within our communities. Then how are we taking some actions? How are we being brave to move things forward a little bit farther than we've tried before? And then coming here to our Queen of Cups, stepping back a bit and thinking about our feelings, our emotions, how we're creating those safe spaces for ourselves and for others. And then we come here to this Queen of Swords. And this is about how we are expressing that, how we are sharing this work that we're focused on for June. How are you going to share that forward? How are you going to talk about that? How are you going to show up and let people see you in this space? So, whatever you're working on this month, how are you going to let people know this is what's happening? This is what I want more of or less of. The Queen of Swords gives you that energy to know that the community is your community. Your voice is allowed to be shared. So share it. Whatever it is you're working on in June, Think about how you want to share what that is and how you want to move forward even more. Write that down. And now I'm going to just move this here so I can slide everybody up for a second. And we will pull one more card. Our underneath for me in our month ahead, I like to think about what we might want to look out for. Something that may come up under the surface that we weren't necessarily prepared for or couldn't have logicked ourselves into thinking about this thing, but it may be very relevant and it's just something you want to keep in mind and be prepared for. Okay, I'm going to put him here for a minute. Here we have the Hanged Man. Now, this makes a lot of sense. I want you to take a moment to look at him, see what jumps out. How does this card feel for you? Now, if you've written that down, the Hangman is what's known as a major arcana card. So these suits that we had before, these are called minor arcana. They're the mundane, day-to-day tasks and smaller lessons that we need to be reminded of to help us to learn the bigger life lessons in the major arcana cards. So the Hangman is almost right in the middle of the major arcana cards. And it comes as a time when you've learned a lot about yourself, you've started to see yourself amongst community, and now is the time to take a step back and look at the world from a very different perspective intentionally, right? He's hanging here, but he doesn't, if you notice, he doesn't look like he's bound up, like somebody's forced him in this role. No, he's done this for himself. He's chosen to look at the world very differently. And even this light is what really jumps out at me most of the time in this card, and this inspiration that happens when you look at the world in a different way, when you allow yourself to take a step back and say, how else can I do this? So think about that in terms of what you're planning and preparing for in June. You may need to, this is our kind of awareness, you may need to take steps back throughout the month to look at things differently. Look at how you've been doing things in the past and how you can do them differently now moving forward. I'll put her here so you can see everybody. So this is our, actually I can move it out so you can see the cards more. All right. So overall, again, think about whatever you have going on that you want to prepare for in June. Think about how close you are to reaching a goal, to understanding what it is you've been trying to build, the tangible thing that you can, touch, feel, whether it's something in your home life, whether it's your work life, whatever you've been building toward, you are coming close to completing some piece of a cycle with that. And throughout the month, we want to focus on how we are problem solving and finding cooperation, working with other people, supporting other people, and what benefit that is for you and what you're building. Then we're taking the steps to move forward, to be brave and start taking some real actions, not just thinking about it anymore, but really taking some specific actions to move forward. And as you do that, you're going to run into needing to focus on how you feel about this. Maybe you start moving forward in a way and you realize, this thing I was planning and preparing for isn't actually what I want. Maybe there's something I need to change or refocus my energy. You're not going to know that until you create a space where you can sit with your emotions, sit with how you feel about it, and allow yourself that safe space to feel how this work aligns for you. And maybe it's also creating space for the people that you're working with and helping to support, creating space for them as well. And then at the end of the month, we're going to talk about it. We're going to share that with people. We're going to put that out into the world. We're going to let people know what we're doing, how your leadership is showing up or how you want it to show up, and be able to move that forward. And all the while recognizing that life isn't just one way. You have to look at things from a very different perspective sometimes to find a solution or to get new inspiration. So it feels really good. Now, I will say in this second week here, the end of this second week here is when the new moon happens. So, think about that new moon in Gemini. We will have a new moon activation that happens again, while you're taking those actions, the new moon is happening. So think about, if you understand new moon energy, make sure you come to activation, but it is about preparing for what's coming ahead, right? How can you make those preparations? And then the beautiful thing is that following week here, on the 20th, we actually have the summer solstice. So it's a beautiful time of showing up and connecting with this summer energy. It's a turning of the season, living fully in that summer energy to continue to move you forward. I'm going to switch back. So this feels so completely aligned for us in June, right? This is a very clear path, and it doesn't feel heavy. Hopefully, it doesn't feel heavy to you. Hopefully, it feels like a beautiful way to progress forward, right? And when you think about what needs to happen, what needs to change, what you need to work on, you don't have to change the world, right? Think about one tangible thing that you can be moving forward. That's really important to you, that's aligned with you. That's what I want you to be focusing on in June. Okay? So if we think back to our initial what do you feel oracle message, this was about listening to you, right? As you're making these plans, as you are preparing for this month ahead, it needs to be your ideas, your feelings, the things that are important to you. Don't worry so much about what everybody else has to say and what they think about what you're doing. That doesn't matter, right? Listen to yourself. You have your answers. Allow your intuition to lead you forward. And remember, intuition always feels good. So if you're thinking about making changes, what to move forward, any inspiration you get from intuition feels good in your body. If it feels like yes, this is the thing that I need to move forward, that is your intuition moving you. If it feels heavy or stuck, or you're making excuses about why it might make sense, I'm going to yeah, I want to leave this job, but it pays the bills, right? I'm not telling you not to eat your food, right? Make a plan, but know that that's not intuition telling you you should stay for this particular reason. That's your mind. That's logic. If it doesn't feel good, if it doesn't feel like a hell yes when you're moving forward, then that's not intuition. And that's going to keep you stuck a little bit. All right. So that's it. I hope this was helpful. I hope that you take some time to sit down and think about what you want to accomplish by the end of this month, what small change you want to see by the end of June that's going to move you closer to what you really want, what feels right for you, what's aligned with you. Okay. And I'd love to hear about it. I'd love to hear what you're working on and how this landed for you. And if you pull your own card separately, I'd love to hear about that too. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next week on and every week for Circle in the community. All right. Thanks for watching. See you later.